Now number 7, it says solve each triangle. So that means we're trying to figure out everything. So whatever we don't know, we need to figure out. For instance, we don't know these two angles, angle A and angle B, so we need to figure them out. We also need to figure out the length of this side. So I don't even think it really matters which one we try to find first. We could find either of the angles using inverse trig functions. We could also find this side first if we wanted to using the Pythagorean theorem. I think I'm going to find angle B first, though. Let's find angle B. So it is an angle, so I'm going to make use of those inverse trig functions. So angle B, let's figure out what function to use here. So looking at angle B, so the two sides that I know currently are the hypotenuse and the adjacent side. So adjacent and hypotenuse. So that would make this a cosine problem. So I'm going to do the inverse cosine of adjacent over hypotenuse. So 8 over 10.1. 8 over 10.1. So that angle is about 37.6 degrees. So angle B is 37.6 degrees. So let me go ahead and label that on my figure here, 37.6 degrees. So now, let's go ahead and use it to find this other side here. So I'm going to label this side X. And I'm going to use that angle I just found to help me find X. So let's find X. So relative to that 37.6 degree angle, I notice that X is opposite that angle. So opposite, and I can use opposite and hypotenuse here, or opposite and adjacent, either one. So I'm partial to sine, so I'm going to use opposite and hypotenuse here. So I'm going to use sine of 37.6 degrees, and that would make the ratio X over 10.1. If I were going to try to use cosine, I would say cosine of 37.6 degrees equals X over 8, since cosine is defined opposite over, cosine would be defined adjacent over hypotenuse. So that would actually be 8 over 10.1. That wouldn't even work here, so excuse me for that. I would have to use tangent if I wanted to do X over 8. Moving on, though. Sine of 37.6 equals X over 10.1. So I'm trying to solve this for X, so I'm going to go ahead and multiply both sides by 10.1. So that makes X equal to, let's see, 10.1 times sine of 37.6. So about 6.2. So now I know that side is 6.2. So what's the only thing we haven't solved for here? We know all three sides now. We know 2 out of the 3 angles. So we don't have to do anything fancy to find this third angle. We just have to remember that the angles in a triangle add up to 180 degrees. So we don't necessarily have to use trig to figure out that third angle. We already know that we've got a 90-degree angle, and we found out that we also have a 37.6 degree angle. So I'm going to subtract the two angles that we know from 180 to get that third angle. So that angle has to be 52.4. So angle A is 52.4 degrees. So we've solved everything